What is photosynthesis? Here is a brief summary. Photosynthesis is much more than the process used by plants to grow or just their relationship to sunlight. Photosynthesis is the process of taking light energy from the sun and converting it into a chemical energy or some sort of compound to then help run the growth of an organism. Hence the formula 6CO2 plus 6H2O yields down to glucose plus 6O2. This process can come into two sections. Let's start off with the light-dependent process. Here we are zooming up into this tree and its leaf. Close up we can see the chloroplast, a shell almost, the granums, and the thylakoids. The granums and thylakoids are the same. Granas are just multiple thylakoids grouped up. Up close into the thylakoid we come across the thylakoid membranes, as well as the lumen. The lumen is known to carry the fluid in and out, and then is also an important aspect of the Calvin cycle, which we'll get into later on. Here are our two photosystems. These are responsible for transferring our electrons into the NADP plus reductase here at the other end. The light-dependent process officially starts when sunlight hits the chloroplast. The sun's energy then reflects onto the thylakoid, and then enters photosystem 2, where it activates or excites the chlorophyll. The water is then broken down into its two main components, the hydrogen and oxygen ions, and this is done by several enzymes. These ions will then go through photosystem 2, traveling, and will be transferred with the help of the fluids in the lumen. It will pass into the last photosystem before making its way into the reductase, transforming to the final product, glucose. It is also important to know that it is not possible for the hydrogen ions to escape through the thick skin of the chloroplast without the additional help of the reductase.
Photosynthesis contains two different processes, the light-dependent, we just explained, and now the light-independent, otherwise known as the Calvin cycle. The cycle begins with carbon fixation. 3 carbon dioxide molecules are received by the plant from the air. Then ribisco, which is an enzyme, causes the carbon dioxide to diffuse into 6 phosphoglycerate pieces, each containing 3 carbon atoms. After this occurs, ATP gives energy to these pieces, and then ATP turns into ADP. The next part of the Calvin cycle is reduction. NADPH provides electrons to the pieces, which influence the change into G3P. 6 total G3P molecules are made in this process, and as it continues, 1 molecule out of the 6 needs to be used for the purpose of making glucose, so only 5 G3P are left. The rest of the G3P molecules then move on to the third part of this process, which is the regeneration, which ATP once again gives the G3P molecules energy to convert into RUBP. RUBP is needed in order to keep this process in function. In order to create glucose, this process needs to happen twice. As a review, water or H2O enters the plant and leaves the plant as oxygen during the light-dependent process. Then CO2 or carbon dioxide enters the plant and is transformed into glucose in the Calvin cycle.